Welcome into the live, everybody. My name is Kat. I do medical coding and medical billing. Hopefully, you're here because you're interested in medical coding and medical billing. If you have any questions, I am here to help lessen the confusion of what's going on. Hope you guys are having a great day. Let me know what questions you have. Crystal, that's such a good question. And there are three key questions that I typically tell people they need to consider or ask or, think about when they're first starting out. The first thing is to consider your learning style. When you're researching schools, make sure they teach the way that you learn. If you are the type of person that learns by, you can do self-paced or online. You don't need an instructor. Make sure they have that option. If you do need an instructor, make sure they have an option for an instructor. Make sure that they be able to teach how you learn. And then you want to also make sure they're teaching you and preparing you for the exam that you will ultimately take. So whether you want to be credentialed through AAPC or HEMA, make sure they're absolutely teaching that curriculum that is going to prepare you for that exam, not their own curriculum. It could be a mix of their own curriculum and the curriculum that, AAPC or HEMA teaches exams you on or test you on, but you need to make sure you're absolutely being prepared for the national exam. And then make sure your financial consideration is in play here. So like if you can pay outright in full, if you need monthly payments, if you need financial assistance, make sure that that's an option. Those are options for you, because you don't want to go broke, trying to pay for your education and then can't pay for your books, can't pay for your exam, can't pay for, your CEUs that you're going to need. So, you need to make sure that all of that is considered. But I guess the most important thing I would say is make sure they're preparing you for the test to take through either a HEMA or a APC. And it would be also a good idea to ask them, is the testing cost included in your overall payment? Because typically you have to pay separately for the exam. So you want to prepare for that, because when you're ready for the exam, you want to already have that voucher ready to go. The coupon Barbie, I don't understand. I mean, I don't think that the having that A at the end of your credential is something that like makes employers not want to hire you. There are plenty of employers that will hire you with an apprenticeship. Um, more so than the A being on your credential. They look for experience. They want you to have some experience under your belt. There are some employers that will hire you without experience or with little experience, but most employers want you to have 2 to 4 years of experience going into it. So that means like being a medical biller, working somewhere in the medical office prior to getting into coding. They want you to be able to understand how a medical office is ran, how the revenue cycle operates. They want you to have some experience dealing with insurance and using the jargon that insurance uses, how to research billing policies and things of that nature. So any past career positions that you've had, job positions that you had that it gave you that experience will count as experience towards, what they're looking for medical coding. But in my experience, the A is not what deters jobs from hiring you. Excludes one means absolutely you cannot code these two things together. These two conditions cannot be coded together. It's not possible to have these two conditions. So, like a congenital condition, that's a condition that you were born with. And if you code that same condition as something that was acquired, meaning that it developed later on in life, if you code those two together, that's not possible. How can you have been born with something, but you're also telling them that it was acquired later on in life? So you have to pick one. Either they was born with it or it developed over time. So excludes one means this absolutely cannot be coded together. Excludes two means these are typically not coded together, but it is possible that the person can have both of these. So like COPD and asthma. Usually a person has one or the other, either COPD or asthma. But there are instances where a person can have COPD and asthma. So these two things can be coded together if, they truly do exist together. So yeah, so choosing a school is going to be so important. There are a lot of programs out there that just kind of want you to get into their program, and I hear a lot of students say that they don't feel prepared for the exam after taking those programs. So that's why I always like suggest making sure you ask specifically, are you preparing me for a pro for a the test that I'm going to be ultimately taking, because you want to ensure that the education that you're receiving is going to benefit you. You're not going to feel like you wasted your money and then you have to, try to help yourself relearn information that you was already taught. Hello. Now, I would say AAPC or a HEMA. Go straight to the source. Or you can do a community college. Community colleges have they prepare you. Or if you can find a instructor that is was taught through AAPC. Usually AAPC certified instructors use AAPC's curriculum. Cheech, good luck. You got this. You got this. Kim Lazada, what are you confused with in the revenue cycle? The revenue cycle is just, as far as coding and billing is concerned, is just how the revenue flows through the healthcare system. So it starts off with scheduling. The beginning of the cycle is scheduling. The patient comes in, they get scheduled. The scheduler gets all the demographics information, all the insurance information so that it can get verified. The next step is verification of benefits. You go and the verification of benefits specialist or whoever does that, it could be the scheduler as well. They verify benefits, make sure that what the patient is being wanting to be seen for is something that's covered under their insurance. They get all the information like how much the patient would pay out of pocket, how much the insurance may be expected to pay, if any pre-authorizations is needed, any referrals is needed, all that information, so that we can go ahead and get the patient actually scheduled. Well, I should say registration is the first step. Registration is collecting all the demographic information. Verification of benefits is verifying insurance benefits and making sure they're eligible to be seen. Then they get the patient scheduled. Once they get the patient on the schedule, they go ahead and obtain any authorizations or referrals that may be needed, if they are needed. If they're not needed, the patient comes in. The next step in the revenue cycle is the patient gets seen by the provider. The provider sees the patient. Then the next step is the provider documents what was done in the visit. The next step of the revenue cycle is it goes to the coder. The coder then does extract the codes, go ahead and gets the claim prepared for the biller. submit it out to insurance companies or the clearinghouse. The insurance company processes the claim. Usually, hopefully, it comes back as paid. The biller gets the information, posts the payments, contacts the patient if there's still any out of pocket money that's due owed by the patient, or post the payments into the billing system so that the hospital, clinic, or whatever can get paid. If the claim came back denied, the billing rep will work the denial, meaning they'll research why it was denied, send it back to whoever needs to fix and correct the denial, and then resubmit the claim. And then hopefully by that time we do get payment. They post the payments, and they, go ahead and make sure that all the money is like calculated and balanced and all of that stuff. And then they close out the revenue cycle. The everything gets paid in full. They do their write-offs, all that stuff, and then the cycle starts all over again. I hope that makes sense to you, but that's essentially the revenue cycle in a nutshell. Hi, Kat. Good morning. You did it through the rye. Okay. Good morning, Unbreakable. Welcome back. No problem, Kim. Yeah, the revenue cycle isn't that bad. It's literally a cycle of money. Literally. I'm not going to say all healthcare systems use it, but those that have like probably deal with a lot of money, um, been use some sort of software, some sort of coding assisted software. I've worked in healthcare systems that like clinics that don't have the funds for it because they say it costs a lot of money to have those types of software. But they usually end up trying to get it because it helps more than it hurts. Because when you start getting a lot of rejections and denials, you realize that you're losing more money than you could be bringing in. So a lot of them would either try to employ something that's cost effective for the clinic. The clinic that I'm referring to that I work for, we didn't have it at first at that clinic, and then they went and they got a codified subscription to help out. That was the most that they did. They didn't do like a CAC system, whereas the billing software actually codes for them. They just couldn't afford it, so they did give us at least an encoder. Yeah, talking about AI software. Yep. Yeah, you'll have to constantly rotate through your book. But usually it is kind of sectioned off, but you will have some questions that require you to go through a couple sections. Like they may have, you might be doing a repair of a body system, and in order for you to complete a repair that's in an integumentary system, but then you might be doing a repair of, say something in the urinary system too. So you'll be in both parts of the book. Sometimes you'll be in the medicine section because you have some labs that you have to look up panels for, but you're also in the E&M section of the book. So yeah, you'll be flipping back and forth through your book. But I heard that the tests don't allow you to bring in. I don't know if this is true. I don't know if this is true. I'm going to preface that. I don't know if this is true. But I heard they want you to use the ebook versions in the test now. But I don't know if that's all if it's like optional or required. Yeah, I know some employers don't buy books. They buy them like every other year or something like that. You could not bring books to the test. Yeah. I don't know. I can't remember if it was optional or like, they have the ebooks. They have the books Unbreakable. They have the ebooks in the computer software now because all the tests is in testing centers now on the computer. They don't have a pen and paper version like a Scantron version of the test anymore. But they have the books electronically embedded in the test. Oh, you can still bring books. Okay. Yeah, I know. I saw that it was at least an option, but I know they're probably doing a transition because usually when they start off, they do hybrid stuff like, oh, it's optional. They test it out, see how it works, and then go from there. Thank you guys for the gifts and the shares and the likes and all that stuff. Thank you. You just recently took the test. How was it, Shanna? Ooh, thank you. I don't know, Adria. I don't know the exact rules for that. You'll have to go on the website and take a look at it. But like I say, don't quote me on that. I don't know if that's absolutely true. I just saw some people talking about are you team ebook or like paper book, regular hard copy, and I saw that some people are on here saying that it's still that you can still take the hard copy. So I'm gonna go with that because it makes sense that they transition. They don't just throw you all the way in, to using the books and don't give you like a transitional period. That's not usually how things work. Oh, the practice exams and the actual exams are very similar. Kim Lazada, you could take the test as many times as you need to. You just got to pay for it each time. They don't like restrict you and say, oh, if you took it 5 times, you can't take it anymore. It's just be prepared to pay for each and every time that you have to retake it. Excludes two means that usually these two diagnoses are not coded together, but you think of excludes as okay. Usually they're not coded together, but if the provider says that they are, in fact, diagnosing the patient with both of these conditions, then it's okay to code them together. So excludes one is absolutely not. Excludes two is not typical, but it's okay. As long as the provider documents that. Yeah, but yeah, I get that. I get that. About taking notes in your book. Yep, I get that. There was a 30-day waiting period if you failed twice. I don't think so. Mm, I've never heard that, but it could be something. I would just say if in fact that you feel like that's true, call a APC yourself and speak to someone about it and ask them, get it out their mouth, because I have never heard that. Maybe they say wait 30 days, like to make sure you study some more, give yourself some time. But I don't know. That's weird. Tiffany says, nope, you could take it the next day. Yeah. Okay, Tiff. Thank you. Thank you for answering that. Y'all check out Tiffany. I check out her lives as much as I can when I get on here and I check her out. She definitely teaches. Those of you that were asking about where can you find classes, if Tiffany has an open class, you should check her out. She's a certified instructor with AAPC. She has a lot of classes, and her classes they are very robust. She offers, like, I think groups. Is that right, Tiffany? Groups. I heard you say something about resumes and everything. I think you said that you offered a combination, the CPC and the CPB. So yeah, check her out. So, Shirel, I always say that a great, a great, a good biller makes a great coder. Me personally, I think every coder should start off in billing. Is it necessary to get the credential? That's debatable, in my opinion, only because it's not mandatory for jobs. Like, if I could save some coin, I'll save some coin. But if you need the confidence behind understanding billing, if you want to be more marketable, yes, the CPB is a great course to take. The CPB will absolutely prepare you to be a great coder because it helps you understand what billers see, and why they do what they do. And it helps you be a stronger coder because when you code, you will always code with billing in mind. So yeah. Sequencing confuses you. Sequencing, I think the coding guidelines has sequencing pretty clear. Maybe you should just kind of reread the coding guidelines though, and like make sure you get that. If a lot of times people ask, like, are there anything that you have to memorize, and I like to say no. How can we, like, you see how big our books are, how can you memorize anything? But if there was something that you will want to memorize, it will probably be the coding guidelines. You don't have to memorize them because you always have the resource there. You always are going to have your books, and you can always Google the current year's coding guidelines. Like, it's always available online. So you have access to them. But you want to know what codes have a guideline to them. So if you had to memorize something, the coding guidelines would be something, and sequencing is spelled out in the coding guidelines. But yeah, sequencing is something that is absolutely necessary because your claims will get denied. And sequencing for like ICD 10 is like readily available. CPT is not so easy to get, but if you have like a encoder or something like that, that's a tool that can help you. You have to know about your NCCI edits, and you have to know how to read that spreadsheet, the spreadsheet that's given by CMS. Maybe that's something we can go over together. Maybe we'll pull up the NCCI spreadsheet and like just take a look at it. Does it show up on the system on how to sequence? No, that's something that's on the coder. But I will say, well, no, I won't say that. Okay. Yeah, that's something that probably will be a good thing to talk about. because it's absolutely important. You want to make sure you get all your sequencing done right. The coupon Barbie, I wish I notated my book. But like some of the things that I do is I highlight. I don't really notate my book. I like highlight keywords. I like, something that I know I need my eye to catch. I don't want I don't want to get confused by, or I need it to be readily popped out for me. I highlight every parenthetical note in my CPT book though, just because those are tricky for me. I have my test next week. I'm so nervous. You'll be okay. Nerves are absolutely normal. Hopefully, you're the type of person that works off of adrenaline. Just make sure you don't let it get the best of you, because that time will fly by, but it's normal. It's normal. You'll be okay. Just be aware of your time, when you're taking a test. I think if I remember correctly, it's a little clock to help you to keep track of the time when you're taking the test. Just be aware of that. For me, I like to, like, by my 2 hour mark, I like to make sure that I'm as close to halfway done as possible. Because it'll help me to like maintain a good pace. I feel like I have ICD-10 down pat, but the CPT and HICPIC throw me off. Yeah. HICPIC is one of those books that you barely use, well, at least in my experience. So I don't pay too much attention to it. It's sad to say. But I do when I need the G codes out of it. Like Medicaid uses the HICPICs a lot. So I know the codes that I need to know. Um, you know, CPT is a book that's a little confusing, but once you start working in it, you'll understand it a lot better, at least for the test, because you already have the option choices there. If you go straight to like the answers and you look up the codes and that they give you, that makes it a little bit easier. In the real world, if you have to extract your own codes, then it'll probably be to your best interest to sit down with your CPT book and like get to know it, like really read through it, like front to back, like you're reading a novel, so that you can get to understand your CPT book. You working your hick pick is in plastic wrap. Yeah, I don't. The I just broke out my hick pick book for my behavioral health provider, because they are starting to do a lot more case management with and case management is typically done with like Medicaid, and so they use like the case management hit pick codes. So like that was new to me. I barely use hick pick in real life. Barely. So I wanted to let you guys know that I do have a study guide that I created to help with, test taking techniques, not with test questions, but with test taking techniques. Because for me, what helped me pass my test was getting into study groups. So I really, really believe in study groups. I really, really believe that you need to have a group of like-minded people around you that's doing the same thing to help you to advance. It also helps keep you accountable, and maybe they see something that you don't see. Study groups really helped me, especially when I was studying for my CRC exam. And so within the study groups, I started learning how to, employ test taking techniques to help me to be more successful on my test, because I was really discouraged when I took my CPC and it took me 3 times to pass the CPC exam. CPC was very new when I got into medical coding. Like, I kind of didn't even know what I was getting myself into. I didn't know nothing about medical coding and medical billing when I first started. So it was just like a tough test for me. But after I, successfully finally passed my CPC exam, I went on to get other credentials. And what made me be able to pass those tests on the first try was, understanding how to take the test that AAPC gives, how to look at the questions, how to decipher what is right and what is wrong, and what they're actually asking me. And so, as I've been coming on lives, like talking to you guys, trying to understand the needs and, the struggles that you guys are having, besides trying to figure out what program is, right for you, a lot of the concerns is you're really nervous about the test, or you've taken the test and you haven't, successfully passed, or you just want to understand how to prepare for the test. So I created a playbook that I call the elimination process, and it shows you how to do process of elimination the right way. So I'm going to be offering that this week. So if you guys aren't following me, please follow me if you are interested in learning more about test taking techniques to help ease some of the confusion and the nervousness and make you feel more confident when you go in there and taking the test. I am going to be offering some webinars to kind of show you, like in real world examples, on how I use the playbook, how I implement these test taking strategies. But these is just some strategies that I've learned from taking review courses, from being in study groups, from working with other individuals that successfully has passed, tests with AAPC, talking to my peers. Just doing it myself. Like, I've taken plenty of tests through AAPC. If you guys see the credentials that I have, like, the only test that I had to take multiple times was my very first test. After I kind of cracked the code, I understood how to successfully take tests. It's about understanding the information that you're studying, but it's also about understanding how to play the game. So that's why I call it a playbook. So if you are interested, continue to follow me. Once I release it, it will be in my stand store, and we'll go over it and we'll talk about it, because I know how frustrating it is. I know how much it costs to continue to have to pay for, taking the test over and over again. And it's just, the sooner that you can get credentialed, the sooner you can get out there and start preparing yourself for the next task, which is finding a job. Yeah, no one probably talks in your class because they're probably confused. This is a lot of information that we learn, and you don't know what you don't know until you get into the field. And so, yeah, it's like, you don't want to sound like you don't understand what's going on, but you probably are a bit confused and don't know what questions to ask. So that's probably why a lot of people are quiet in your class. That's how I was. Like, I didn't know. Like, I'm sitting here trying to retain all the information, and it's like, what do I ask? Like, how do I know what to say? So, yeah. Hey, Mocha Latte, how are you? Okay, baby, I don't have any credentials through AHEMA, but I know it's a reputable source. It's the OG, it's the original. So you can't go wrong with it. You can't go wrong with it. It just depends on your goals. What type of coder you want to be? What type, when you're deciding between a HEMA and AAPC, you have to look to see what type of coder you want to be. So they have descriptions for all their credentials on both websites. Also, think about the support. One of the biggest thing, and I'm biased because I'm an AAPC member, but one of the things that I always hear from a HEMA members is they find it hard to get support from a HEMA. I don't know if that's true because I don't have personal experience of being a HEMA member, but That's what I hear them say. Yes. But check out to see what's the best fit for you. In general, if you are interested in like learning inpatient coding, your CCS would be the credential you will want. You will want the support from a HEMA. Most of HEMA candidates are like inpatient coders. They're outpatient coders as well, but that's usually what inpatient coders lean to. Especially if you're thinking about getting an RHIT or RHIA, you kind of want to stay all under one umbrella. So that would be the route you want to go. But if you are looking for like professional coding or outpatient coding, AAPC has inpatient coding credentials too, but they're geared more towards professional and outpatient coding, then you will want to go with AAPC. Yeah, your teacher recommends a HEMA probably because, like I said, they're the OGs. They are the OG. A lot of jobs are going to say that they want a HEMA, but they also want AAPC members as well. So you can't go wrong with either one. I know more AAPC credentialed coders than I know a HEMA coders, but it could be the demographics that I'm around. Ventures Treasure, you all in my business. I would tell you, I make at this point of my career, I make almost 70,000 a year, and that's from my 9 to 5. I also, you're right, bitches. I did say ask me anything, but I also have a business too. And so I have a business that I do on the side that I work for private practice providers. So yeah. Yeah, Megan, I agree with you. And it's just from the feedback that I hear. I hear a lot of people say AAPC has better coverage of like, different credentials that you can get, different just so much like support. You have the, CEUs, and you have like all these different conferences that you have. I know AHEMA has stuff like that too, but I just hear AAPC is cool. Yeah, vintage treasury, 70,000 from my 9 to 5. Yep, yep. Megan, what are you talking about? Say that again. Maybe I don't understand. Girl, them fill in the blank cases are gonna eat you up. I'm glad. I'm so glad that that wasn't an option when I first tested. If I had fill in the blanks, boy, I don't know what I would do. I would have probably cried the whole through the whole test. Give me some multiple choice. Um, how side jobs? How I'm trying to piece your question together, Megan. How are those side jobs? Um, Maybe you're asking about my side, like how did I get started in my side jobs? I just created an LLC. It's really a business, but I do it after my 9 to 5. Well, I really work like 6 to 2. But how did I find my side jobs? Okay, I'll get back to that question. It's not official yet. Thank God, only practice exams. Yes, yes, Gemini things. The fill in the blank is not official yet. They are preparing you for it. They're still testing it out. Okay, Megan. So I started. I always had a desire when I first started out in coding. My goal was always to be to be a consultant. Like my dream was I wanted to learn everything I can about coding and go into hospitals and clinics and be a coding consultant for them. But I kind of pivoted a little bit as I started getting more experienced in the field. I still wanted to be a consultant, but just in a different way. So I decided that I wanted to just to have a whole consultant agency, but also offer my primary service that I offer is medical billing. Even though I'm a coder, I started off in billing. So I created my LLC. My company is called Superior Medical Consulting, and I offer billing solutions for private practice providers. So I just go up here. This is why I'm on social media a lot. Really, I initially started my social media channels because I was wanting to use that as marketing to show providers that I am knowledgeable in billing and coding and that I can, code for their bill for their practice. So I just utilize social media as one of my main marketing tools, and that's how I get my side jobs. Basically, I put content out here, and like I answer billing questions for providers, and lead to conversations on whatever their billing issues are. I also am part of a coaching group, a mastermind for medical billing business owners, and we share leads in that coaching group. But I go out there and I market myself. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So it's essentially contracted positions, basically. So, my lawyer has drawn up a good contract for me, and I just go out there and we just agree on, services that is needed. We sign each other contract and we're in contract, with each other. But like I said, I did create it under my LLC so it could be separate for me. I don't want it to be taxed as, like a regular. I want it to be taxed separately from me. That's the only reason why. But as I'm doing this now, I feel like I need a team, and so this year, my plan is to expand. My plan is to hire billers, give people opportunities that find it hard to find jobs out here. So maybe they want to, be an intern and get some experience. Maybe they want some part time work, to help, boost up their resumes so that they can move on to their bigger and better, career goals. But that's the kind of the goal that I'm working on this year. So I'm working towards that. But right now I feel like it's still a side hustle because I'm working in the business instead of working on the business primarily. But I do have a goal of just making it a robust business. Both, Megan. It's both short term and long term. So some providers I just do credentialing for. I taught myself how to do credentialing, and like so they just hire me to credential them for one or more, insurance companies. And so like those are little short term contracts. And then some providers want me to do just payment posting for them, like little things in their billing that they can't because they probably have a system that automatically submits their claims for them. So they just want me to work the follow up on their claim. So some providers I just do follow up for. Some providers I do everything for. Like I credential anytime they're group practice. So anytime they hire a new therapist, I get their therapist credentialed. I get their therapist set up in all the provider portals, set up in like Availity or whatever clearinghouse that we have to utilize or whatever we need to make their billing, their claims successful. I get that all set up for them. And then, I submit the claims, I post the payments, work the denials, work the rejections, collect the co-pays, co-insurances, deductibles, all that, the whole revenue cycle for the business. So, but my business is kind of structured how I want it to be structured. So if you're interested in doing something like that, you just take what you're good at, what you enjoy doing, and those are the services that you offer. What other questions do you guys have about medical billing and medical coding? I've never been on this early before. I've always come on later, and I probably will come back on later this evening. I just wanted to see, you know, how the early afternoon people, how y'all roll. But have you guys, those of you that are still researching schools, have you narrowed it down to some schools? What's like holding you back? What's holding you back? Megan, what new CPT codes for behavioral health? Which ones? I haven't seen any new codes for behavioral health. In CPT, the telehealth codes we still use, like we don't use telehealth codes like the CPT telehealth codes. We still use the modifiers. At least in my clinics. My clinics, we still use the GT, the 95, or the 93 modifier. I haven't had to use any of the telehealth codes, but I thought those was more for office visits and stuff like that. And the telehealth codes, because Medicare is not recognizing them, the commercial insurance, some of them are slow to accept them as well. So as a clinic, we haven't adopted those codes yet. I struggle with E&M more than anything else in my studies. So, your liliness, I actually did a live 2 nights ago, and we actually just I had some E&M cases up on the screen, and we just kind of went through some of the cases. So I'm gonna show you one real quick. What I did. I had a case up like this, and we kind of read through what this case was, and we leveled it together. So I did quite a few of them. I had a lot of them up here. So if you're following me, if you're not following me, please do, because I come on and I help with E&M cases as well. Because I know E&M is one of those things that's, that's weird. And also, if you look in my bio, I hear people say LINK all the time. Do TikTok really like knock you out if you say that? But in my bio, I have an audit tool for E&M to help level E&M cases. So maybe you want to check that out and download it. It'll make it a little bit simpler. Asia, I think it depends on what you're interested in. What's your career goals? I always suggest Google a HEMA career map, a HEMA career map, and that will help you to like try to narrow down like a career path for yourself. And when you narrow down that career path for yourself, it helps you to determine what credentials may be beneficial for you in the long run, only because you don't want to like get a whole bunch of credentials and not use them. But it depends on what makes sense for you. So like if you have a CPC and say you get into a clinic or a hospital and you are you code a specialty, and AAPC offers a credential for that specialty, maybe that makes sense. Like you want to go deeper. Like I'm a urology coder. AAPC happens to have a specialized credential in urology. So had I not had any other credentials, to me it would have made sense. I call urology. I already have my CPC. go ahead and get a urology credential. Or maybe you're interested in risk adjustment coding because you want to go into, a clinic that utilizes risk adjustment, or you find a job that, wants a risk adjustment coder. Risk adjustment risk adjustment jobs will hire CPCs, but you have to understand how to code risk adjustment properly. So it will only make sense for you to also go after that CRC. So again, it depends on your career goals. What's your goal? Your liliness, yes. So each one of my specialties are different. For my clinics, like when I do E&M, we have to do 12 to 15 charts an hour. And E&M, I think they include my behavioral health in that as well. For my surgeries, I don't remember how many charts an hour we have to do for surgeries, but I want to say probably about 5 to 7 an hour. But I know it is a I know they have a quota for us, but the clinic that I work for usually is okay as long as they see that you're working, they see that you're getting your charts out. They could tell that you're working, so they usually don't like harp on you too much about meeting your productivity standards. But if you kind of like always need help, if they see that your work queue isn't going down, then yeah, they'll come in and ask you what's going on. But yeah, some jobs do have quotas. Some jobs just say make sure you have all your charts out by the end of the month. Some jobs say they have a turnaround time. You need to have your charts within 3 days of when the charge is struck. 3 days of data service, 5 days of data service, something like that. Any other questions? Yep. Your littleness, I get stuck, I ain't gonna say all the time, but yeah. And then a lot of times though, if you just close that chart out, work on something else, and come back, it is like a aha. Like, duh, it was right there all along. Most times that's how it is for me. Like, I probably was just tired or overwhelmed, or, like just I don't know, just was doing too much. But if I'm unsure about something, we have a lead. You can always ask your lead. You can always ask your coding manager. That they're your resources. There, I've always been taught as a coder to come to before you go to your lead and say you don't know. Give two or three, possible answers, like your train of thought. So maybe you say, I was coding this and I thought it was this code because the chart says this, that, and the third. But I'm also thinking it could be this code because I also see this, that, and the third, but I really don't know. So can you help me to figure out which code would be the best one? That's one way to put it. Or if you just absolutely don't have no idea which code, you could go in, just tell them that this chart is confusing you because you're not understanding what the provider is actually, trying to say in their documentation. This part of the documentation is confusing you, and they will schedule some time with you and sit down and go over their chart with you, or instruct you on how you need to ask your provider for clarification. That's where you will query your provider and just say, hey, like, this just don't make sense to me. I'm, trying to understand what you mean by this. And they usually would make it, easier for you to understand. Mocha Vibes, no, all the books, they have the same pertinent information, but the layouts are different. I think it's just going to be trial and error for you. For the test, I prefer AAPC because of course it's their test, and their books is going to be the best for the test taking. In the real world, though, I prefer Optum ICD-10 books, and this is just my preference because I feel like it's has a lot more instructions in it. It has a lot more notes in it for me. I like Optum's ICD-10 book, and I like AMA's CPT book. But Optum's CPT book is growing on me. It's just this was my first year using picking an Optum CPT book because I wanted to just see the difference. I'm so used to the AMA CPT book that that's just my preference. If you make a mistake in a code, there's a couple things that can happen. It could get denied because you don't have it's not right. Like whoever reviewed it saw that this wasn't the right code. And like that, they just know that that code wasn't right. So they'll deny it, saying that the services is not supported in the documentation. If it happens to get paid and you get an audit and they find out that it isn't right, then they usually recoup the funds. And with the recoupment, they will have you to review the medical record and recode it if it is still able to be billed out. If you're doing an internal audit and they find out that you did something incorrectly, then they usually have protocols set in place. In every place that I've worked at, it's been like education. Okay, why did you code it this way? Let's talk about it. Here's the right way you can code it. Here's some resources for you to help support you in understanding this is the type of procedures that this should be coded this way, so that you won't do it again, essentially. If you continue to make the same mistakes, then that's probably when they'll bring corrective action in. But from the jump, it's not like you get in trouble. It's an opportunity for education. You don't get in trouble for fraud essentially, but it all depends on the situation. It all depends on the situation. If it's outwardly fraudulent stuff, like you're billing something that just wasn't performed and you're routinely doing it and they find that it's a pattern, or you're working with a provider and the provider is instructing you to do that, yes, it could be opened up to a bigger case for fraud. But most times it's just education. It's just lack of knowledge. And you just, get educated on it and you remember that you messed up and you try to do better. You do better. You do better. It's no trying. You do better. Because you don't want to be in that situation again. Yeah, fraud is a big thing. If you actually um subscribe to the OIG website, if you actually subscribe to like the Medicare website, they send out emails all the time about providers and facilities that is convicted of fraud. Fraud is a real thing in our industry. That depends on your the job. Every job is different. The place that I work at now, no, we was not able to work from home immediately. We had to stay on site for at least 6 months, and then after that, your supervisor can suggest that you stay on for a little while longer, or you can go home. Some jobs do hire you strictly for remote work because they don't have a physical location, or they just know that it's really the industry standard for people to work from home. And so they offer you a from home position from the jump. But that's just dependent on your place of business. But I do suggest to go into the office because like your question before, when you asked about messing up and what if you need help, all those things would be easier for you to maneuver if you're in an office setting. You have direct access to your manager. You have direct access to senior coders. You have direct access to, information. Like it may be reference books in the office. Like I know my supervisor, my department, they buy all these, reference books that they buy only one copy because it's an office. It's for everyone in the office. But if I needed it, I just go to the cabinet and grab the reference book, look what I need, research what I need to research and put it back. You don't have that luxury at home. You don't have the luxury of, immediately walking over to another coder and saying, hey, I need a second set of eyes. Can you look at this and tell me what you think? That was very common when working in the office was a common thing. We did that all the time. All the time. You have your favorite, you know, coding, your favorite work friend or whatever that's a coder too, or biller, because billers have great knowledge too that can help you. And you walk over to them and just have them come to your desk and look at your chart and ask their opinion on it. And that's something that I miss about being in office is the collaboration, of, just having someone to help you to look at a chart and figure out something that you get stuck on. I've been coding for about 10 years now, but I've been in medical billing, like the whole administrative part of it, for almost 18 years. Yeah, the coding is a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful career. I don't regret it at all. I'm so happy that I stumbled upon it. It wasn't like my plan, but it absolutely was my plan without me even knowing it. Good luck in y'all courses. Yeah, Julie, like I used to see the little commercials on TV that talked about like buy these VHS tapes and do medical coding, medical billing. They used to always call it medical billing, just medical billing and coding from home, and like build your business, blah blah blah. And I used to think it wasn't real, or I didn't understand it or whatever, but I just happened to like, I always been, my goal always was to be something in the medical field. And when I just started getting into like the administration side, because when you start off in the medical field, you always think about clinical, wanting to be a doctor or a nurse or lab tech or something like that. But then when I learned about the administration side, I'm like, that's more what is, a good fit for me. I'm not really a people person. I'm not really extroverted. I'm customer service oriented, but if I don't have to work with people, I don't want to work with people. And so like as I started researching it, it just fit my personality way better than being a clinician. Yeah, I feel you on that. Like touching people, why? Why? Yeah, and the great thing about being an introvert and doing the coding part is you don't talk to hardly anyone. Only people you talk to is your supervisor, maybe another coder, and your provider. And most of that is done through email. Billing, on the other hand, you do have to call insurance companies, you do have to call patients. So you still have a phone aspect in billing. But in coding, you don't have the phone aspect at all. Like I don't even have a phone on my desk, not at home. I have one in the office because, it's a cubicle. They equipped you with all the stuff, common stuff that you would need. But I really don't need the phone in my cube because I barely use it. Good for you, Julie. I hope that you do that because the RHIT I think is such a great credential. It'll set you up for a lot of opportunities, especially if you have a desire to go into management or leadership. Mocha vibes. It's no problem. That's what I'm here for. That's why I do these lives because I kind of want to take um the mystery out of like getting into the field. I know if I had someone to answer my questions when I first started, it would have made it a lot easier for me to, get into the field and to know what I was getting into. By me being a biller, first, I kind of had an idea of what coding was about, but not really. Not really. Yeah, I only see the response to Carla Roundtree. Someone says, yeah, Asia said, yeah, it's crazy. They want 2 to 4 years and you can be just starting out. Let me go ahead and let's talk about that a little bit. So when they talk about so Donnie, I'm gonna come back to that. When they talk about having 3 to 4 years of experience, they really want you not in coding. I hope you guys understand that. They don't It's good if you have coding experience, but it doesn't even make sense. Like I'm a new coder. How can I have 2 to 4 years of experience in coding? And I'm a new coder. I have a CPCA. That it takes you 2 years to get the A off of your credentials, so that doesn't even make sense. So what they're really asking you to have is experience in medical coding. Working with the codes, not in medical coding, but working with the codes. And because medical billers do not it's not required for you to be credentialed to be a medical biller. That's usually the most common job that people have when they before they transition into medical coding. So most people start off as a medical biller because it's an entry level job, or more of an entry level job than, medical coding. It's not entry level. I don't want to diminish it and say like it's easy, because it's not. I absolutely feel like medical billers should get paid as much as medical coders. But that's a rant for another day. But medical billing is the step before medical coding. If you become a medical biller and can secure a job in medical billing for the 2 to 4 years, that's going to give you enough experience to say that I have experience working with ICD-10, because medical billers absolutely work with modifiers. They absolutely work with medical codes. They absolutely research denials. Denials help you to understand why codes can't work together, because that's some of the denials that you have to work with. You understand insurance jargon. You contact insurance companies. You talk to insurance companies. You figure out how to get the claim paid. So that gives you the experience. That's the absolute best job to get and work in while you're going to school. While you're going to school, try to secure a medical billing job and do those simultaneously. If you can't find a medical billing job, then find another position that's in the revenue cycle that helps. I don't know if you were on before when someone asked about the revenue cycle and they was kind of confused on what the revenue cycle entails, but it's just a cycle of money. It's how the patient comes into the clinic and we secure them as a patient and we get paid for the services that we give them. So another position in the revenue cycle would be in patient registration, patient access, scheduling, prior authorization, the customer service, answering, billing questions, denials management, payment posting. Those are all some positions that you can get to help give you that experience that they're looking for that goes towards, becoming a medical coder. So if you can't find a billing job, the next best job would be in denials management. Try to figure out how to work the denials, understand how to get the denials overturned, how to appeal a denied claim successfully, things like that. And that all gives you experience that counts towards becoming a medical coder. But that piece is absolutely important because you need to show and prove in some sort of way that you work in a medical field, like in a medical office setting. Because when you come in to secure your medical coding job, they're not going to train you. You more than likely, some jobs do, but more than likely, you're not going to have another coder sit down and say, okay, here is an ICD-10 code. Looking at this chart, this is the code you need to pick. This is for the diagnosis. This is the code you need to pick for the CPT. This is the code you need to pick for the HCPC. They assume you already know that because you went to school. The only thing they're going to train you on is we use Epic. This is how you maneuver Epic. We use all scripts. This is how you maneuver all scripts. This is where you find the labs. This is where you find the vitals. This is where you find the nursing notes. This is where you find the MAR. This is how you get the NDC. They're going to train you on how to use the billing system. They're not going to tell you how to code. So I hope that makes it clear on how to get your 2 to 4 years of experience. If not, please ask me some more questions so I can make it crystal clear for you. I'm a builder and need help to understand some modifiers. Okay, Donnie. So for modifiers, I always suggest going to your Mac. Go to your Medicare Administrative Contractors website, whether that is what's the websites? Hold on, let me pull up my thing. Whether that is GHA, what's another one? Novitas, Palmetto, those websites. I hope you know what I'm talking about when I say that. So go to your Mac. They usually have fact sheets on like the most common modifiers. They tell you how to use them, how to apply them, what scenarios would be the best to apply those websites. Yep, those ones. Mocha Latte have it. They give you tips. It's a fact sheet. The fact sheet gives you tips on what scenarios would be best to apply them, when you should not apply them. They also have, webinars to help you with that as well. The next best thing, or probably the best thing, is your coding book. Your coding book gives you the definition for each of the modifiers, what scenario you need to use them in, so that you understand like a modifier can be used. Like the book clearly says, this modifier is for evaluation and management services. Like you only can use these on evaluation and management services. This modifier is used for procedures or for surgeries. So you know that these modifiers can only be used on surgeries and stuff, not E&M codes. And then you just have to make sure that you understand what scenario you need to use those modifiers for. But it's going to take you to really research and read them. But I would suggest going to your Mac. No problem. No problem. So, William, I don't have any AHEMA credentials, but I would assume so. AHEMA is the OG in all of this. And so I would assume that they courses are good. Like I always say, get the course straight from the source. Straight from the source. And they are the ones that's going to be testing you. They're the ones that administering the exam. So they're going to be the best resource to prepare you. Hello's mom is first you need to start off by researching medical coding and billing. And pick a school, understand what fits best into your lifestyle. So if you, again, I always say go straight to the source. If you want a credential through a HEMA or a APC, I would say you need to take the course through them. If you want something that gives you more of classroom work, kind of stretch it out, give you some fluff, because you need that all around education, maybe do it through a community college of some sort. Medical coding and billing is essentially a trade. So if you have a trade school program that you are familiar with that offer medical coding and billing, that could be a good source for you. There's a lot of online courses or online programs that teaches medical coding and billing. The key to it is going to be research and asking the right questions, making sure that they are preparing you for the exam that you ultimately want to take. Make sure they have the best learning style that you identify with the best. So like if you're a person that likes to learn online, make sure they have that option for you. If you're a person that likes classroom option, make sure they have an in-person option for you. If you're someone that wants to do strictly self-paced, make sure they have that option for you. And make sure they have some sort of resource for you if you need to ask questions. You need some sort of, this is not the easiest thing to learn at first, so you need some way to be able to help make sense of some of the things that get jumbled up in your head. So make sure you have a resource. Also, last but not least, make sure that they offer you a financial solution that fits into your lifestyle. If they want a lump sum payment, make sure you are able and capable of being able to do that. But if that's not ideal for you, if they can break it up, make sure they have that option. If they have tuition where you can get financial aid or some sort of help, make sure they have that option. Steph, I always heard that inpatient coders make more than outpatient coders. So the CIC will probably be it. But I think more so than anything, you should go with what you're passionate about because you want to enjoy what you're doing. And then the money will come. And that's real. The money the money will come. Julie, I do too. I do too. And it's not because I had a lot of procedures done. It's because I read a lot of charts and my mom has an honorary PhD because she's had a lot of procedures done. She goes in and tell her doctors what's wrong with her. And it's so funny because they call her her name. They call her doctor in her name. And cuz she just knows a lot. Would I be able to stay in coding if I just want to do mental health? Yep, you will. You will. There's a lot of mental health is really the hot topic now too, and that's what I am. I'm a mental health coder. I code other things as well, but I primarily code mental health. Thank you guys for the follows and the likes. I've been on here a long time and we're only at 2,000 likes. I need y'all to tap that screen for me. I've been dropping gems, I think. I think I've been helping y'all. So help me. Tap that screen, please. Thank you. Thank you. Y'all know how TikTok work. We can get on here and yap all day, but TikTok want to see some engagement. So let's engage. I love the questions though. Like I'm not taking that for granted. Thank you. My oldest daughter is a nurse. My youngest daughter. Oh, really? You can absolutely help them. You can absolutely help them. I hope you do go all the way for your T, Julie. Y'all can make a family business. Y'all can figure it out. That's if y'all want to work together. I'm just creating your future for you. Oh yeah, I do work in the field. I work in the field. I'm invested. I have a 9 to 5. I'm a mental health coder. I'm a urology coder and I'm a dermatology coder. Those are the three specialties that I code. I also have a business, a medical billing business. I have providers that I bill for. I have 4 providers that I bill for, and I have 2 providers that I just finished credentialing for. So I'm all in the business. I'm not just somebody that got my credentials and just teach it. Like I work every day in this business, literally all day. How many times do you have to recertify? No, not per 10 years. So you have to pay your membership dues every year. So if you want to keep your certification active, you do have a yearly fee that you have to pay to keep your certification active. If you don't pay that yearly fee, you lose your certification. That's a good question. No one has ever asked that question on the live before, I don't think. Um, and you have to get continuing education units every 2 years to keep up with your certification. Those are the two things that will put you in jeopardy of losing your certification. So you need to pay your membership dues yearly, and you need to get your required amount of continuing education units every 2 years. The study guides isn't up yet. I'm gonna try to release them this afternoon. You're very welcome. You're very welcome. Thank y'all for liking. I see y'all got it up to 2.6. I mean 4.6. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate the compliment. Yeah, it's just something that I like. I enjoy my job. Of course, no one wants to work. Well, I'm not gonna say that because some people do like working. I don't like working, but if I have to work, I'm glad I'm doing medical coding. I'm very happy I'm doing medical coding. So Creole Diva, I am coming out with a playbook. I've been working on this playbook since the beginning of the year, and it's finally almost finished. I'm probably going to debut it later on today. I just want to I got to get the links up in my store and everything. But I have 4 test taking techniques that I learned over the years of taking all these tests through AAPC that I think work for me and help me successfully pass my test. My first test taking technique is I call it spot the obvious wrong answer. And I always tell people when anybody asks me about like tips on how to, take the exam or pass the exam. I can't say like pass it, but tips on taking the exam. I never read the question first unless it's like those easy questions like medical terminology and disease process and just like word questions asking you about a specific, coding guideline. But if it's an actual coding question, I read the codes first. And then I try to pick out what code does not belong here. Like which one of these are not the same as the others. And usually it's either obviously completely wrong because it's out of place, or that's the only obvious right answer. So that's one process of elimination technique that I use to spot the obvious wrong answer. The second tip that utilize is making sure that I can identify certain keywords that will help me to pick the right code. And that's really useful when you have those long ass cases. Like, you get a question and the case is like 2 pages long or a page and a half long. You only have 2 minutes to read answer that question, and you can't possibly read the case in 2 minutes. You know, so you have to train your eye to pick out certain keywords to help you understand what CPT code is being used. So stuff like excision, you know, if they say that they excise something, you're not going to go to, that means that they took something out. They didn't repair it. They actually removed something. So you're going to a code that is excising it. If they say they did an incision, that might mean that they probably repaired something or they cut into something. So they're trying to like do something. If you see that they use a scope, they might just be scoping something out. It might be diagnostic in nature. So that technique I call like spot the keyword or something like that. I have the exact terminology in the playbook. It's not in front of me. The third strategy that I use is like grouping. So a lot of times if you notice like on your practice test, like they give you your 4 answer choices and like most of the codes all be identical except for one code. Like you'll have 3 codes that they put in for each answer choices and one code might be different, and so that's the one code that you know you need to look up to see the difference between what those codes are and if they're asking you that in the test. And so I group these codes together to try to like eliminate how many times I'm flipping through the book. If I can group these 2 groups together, it's like, okay, I'm grouping these together, so now I'm only going to look up, pay attention to the pertinent code in this answer group. I have to demonstrate that in person. I can't really explain that. It's really hard for me to explain, but when you visualize it, I don't know if Mocha Latte is still on here. I think she took some of my one of my courses that I kind of show a little bit of the grouping technique. But that help is very, very helpful. And then also my last but not least, I coined a not coined, but I use, you know, a phrase called like know the rules. And that's just basically knowing your coding guidelines and your parenthetical notes. You absolutely need to know that for the test. And so you know, that's another technique or, you know, obvious thing that you have to know for the exam. So it's all in my playbook and I am going to offer it at some point. And I'm going to do like a webinar course on it so that I can show you guys how to utilize it. But it's taking time to do the playbook because I want to make sure that the test taking techniques is absolutely makes sense to other people and not just how my brain works. You know, bundling and unbundling is absolutely talked about in the playbook. It's part of spot the obvious wrong. I show you how like obviously this is wrong because they unbundled the code, and you will know if they unbundle it because the CPT book in the parenthetical notes tell you this is included in this code. The definition of the CPT book is telling you that it's already included. Like if they do a procedure and they try to code the procedure and a stent, but the stent is actually in the definition of the main procedure and they coded the stent, they're unbundling. You can't code 2 stents if they didn't put 2 stents in. So it's stuff like that. Like that's obviously incorrect. So but we'll, if you are interested in it and you want to get into the webinar, we'll go over all of that. We'll talk about all of that. Okay, Mocha Latte, I see you. Yeah, I hope I yeah, I've been working on it actually since the class that I offered you guys. I've been working on it for a really long time in between life. In between life. Good luck on that CPMA. Good luck on it. No problem. Thank you for participating and asking. How long have you been in the field and would you say there would be steady, I guess you're trying to say steady work in the field? I've been coding and billing for the whole field, I guess. I've been in the field for over 18 years now. I've been coding for over 10 years, like strictly coding. But I've been in like the business side of medicine for about 18 years now in some form or fashion. I started off as a claims adjuster, a claims adjudicator. I moved into billing, and then I got into coding, and now I'm doing both coding and billing. And I guess teaching. I guess I can call myself a teacher. But not really. A helper. I'm a helper in this field. So yeah, that's kind of my path. I have a few credentials. I have a CPC, a CPMA, CRC, CPCD, and CUC. Those are the credentials that I have. The ones that I use, of course, the CPC, the CPCD, and the CUC are the ones that I use. The CPMA I don't actively use, but that was just always a personal credential that I just wanted. The CRC was required by one of the positions that I held in one of my jobs. And so I had to get that. And yeah. Thank y'all for the taps. Thank you for the taps and the gifts. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Any other questions? CRC is next for you. Okay. That's a really good one. I like we had someone come in and they did like a webinar, like a it was the webinar was not the webinar, the yeah, I guess it was like a webinar. It was for our monthly meeting, but it was called A Day in the Life of a CRC coder. And it was so interesting because I haven't used my CRC in such a long time, and so like I forgot about the hierarchy, the relative value, and like trumping and all that stuff. And so it was so good to get a refresher on all that, and just to be able to work with one code set, like that's a dream. To only work with ICD-10 codes and to master that, that's a dream. And so, but the only ICD-10 codes and to master that, that's a dream. And so, but the only, the different years of like the golden guidelines in the different plan years. So if I'm looking at a record that was coded using, 2024, 2023, it's like flipping my mind back and forth to those years. Yeah, we having a blizzard here and my lights just went off. That's so crazy. Cold now. Yes, I know. No, it's probably all out. A lot of people lights been going out because of the blizzard. We just go be in the dark for a little while. Hopefully it come on soon because it's cold. Yeah, there you go. It's not snowing out in Bellevue. Uh, hmm They say Iowa is not that crazy either. Look at my computer screen. Look how it look. Don't it look weird?
Oh, zoomed
Yeah.
in? Yeah. I thought you had it like that. Yeah.
Mm-mm. I ain't that old.
Let's say.
I'm in Nebraska. I'm in Nebraska. It's so crazy for us to be getting snow. JC, is it snowing where you at? Oh, you in Lincoln. Is it snowing in Lincoln? It's snowing here. I'm in Omaha. Oh, that's crazy. Yeah. This weather has been very weird. It's like March, and usually in Nebraska, it's warm by this time. Like we get spring weather in March. Yeah. And for it to be snowing, but we didn't get any snow all winter, and I knew it. Like I told my sister, she told me, "You don't know how global warming work." I was like, "No, by this, I bet you in March we're usually barbecuing. My brother's birthday is at the end of March. Every year for his birthday, we do our first barbecue, and this year it's not gonna happen because it's snowing." It's snowing. And she's like, that's not how global warming works. Global warming means that it's just going to be warm. And I'm like, no, our seasons have been shifted. We get winter from January to probably April or May now. That's just my theory. I don't think we get winter in like November, December, January anymore. Nope. It's going to be like January through May. It's crazy. But yeah, I know it sucked that it's cold in Florida. I used to live in Florida. I went to college in Florida. And the weirdest thing about living in Florida to me was having my kids take a picture with Santa with shorts on. I'm from Chicago originally. And so when I moved to Florida and they was riding bikes on Christmas Day, that was so strange. That was that was just not right. Yeah, just cold and dust. Oh. Yeah, it was just 70 yesterday. We was at the park. Well, my nephews was at the park yesterday playing in the park, and now we got blizzard. That's stupid. That's so stupid. In theory, I can't say your username exclamation mark, but in theory, yes, I use my books every day, but I don't use my physical books. I Google a lot of my codes, and I create a OneNote workbook that I use my common codes because when you get in the real world, and you really only code one to two, maybe three specialties. So if you've been on here, you hear a lot of people say that like they're into mental health coding. That's probably the only thing you'll code. I code mental health, urology, and sometimes dermatology, but primarily urology and mental health. So I only use certain codes. I use F codes for the most part for mental health. I use N codes for the most part for urology. So I'm as far as ICD-10. So I know those codes, so I created like a little cheat sheet for myself on commonly used codes. And plus, I got a lot of them memorized, so I don't need the book anymore unless, Oh, and I use Q codes because I work with kids. But I don't use the book, but in theory, I could because you have to make sure that the codes is coded to the highest specificity. ICD is for your CPT. Yes, I use my book a lot, but I have an encoder. So the encoder eliminates a lot of the need for the book. The only time I get the book is if the encoder is just tripping me up and confusing me. I'll pull out my book and look and read the actual definition to see if I got some guidance in the book. If the book can give me some kind of, insight that the encoder is not. Yeah, how do I Google my codes? I just Google them. I either Google the main term, so that's where medical terminology come in at. Like I Google whatever the main, however it's presented to me in the medical note, or I use a ICD-10 It's a website called, my computer just went down, so I have to wait till it come up and I'll give you the exact website. But yeah, you do have to work hard. If you don't have Google up as a medical coder, what are you doing? What are you doing? You need Google. Maybe one day ChatGPT will replace Google, but I still use Google. I need Google. I was wondering if that happened when working with the codes. Yeah. I got a lot of anatomy diagrams in OneNote. Yes. I code ortho. Yes. Diagram OneNote is a godsend, especially for what we do. Because of the way that it takes notes for you, like allows you to take notes. You can put pictures up there, diagrams, graphs, you make worksheets, workbooks, like however your preferred note taking style is. OneNote has the capability of doing that, and it's an absolute must have. We need to have like a course on how coders can use OneNote. Is there a lot of reading before you code? Yes, you have to read the charts. You absolutely have to read the charts. You have to read the code descriptions. You have to read the definitions. You have to read billing policies. Yes, 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 yes. That's a, most of what you do all day is read. So if you don't like reading, this probably won't be a good fit. Very analytical, very precise, very much attention to detail. So you can't fake that attention to detail. You know, attention to detail is a buzzword when you're doing your resume. It's like, oh, I pay attention to detail. No, that's a real skill you need to have in medical coding, because a word like and or could make a difference in the code. A letter like E and O can make a difference in the code. And so you have to make sure you look at the right code. Absolutely. You gotta find those minute details. In the but excision versus incision, you have to know that. Looking at the centimeters, you have to know that. Body areas, anatomy, you have to know that. So yeah. Yep. That's exactly what I was thinking. Otomy, ectomy. Yes. You need to know the difference. Absolutely. All my internet stuff is finally coming back up here. It's crazy. So I could give you that website. So I utilize a lot ICD10data.com for my ICD-10 codes, or HICPICdata.com for my HICPIC codes. And then just plain old Google. Like I say, just Google stuff. And that helps me to not have to pull out my book all the time. But your best resource is your book, or if you have some sort of ebook. If you have some sort of ebook, like AAPC gives you access to a lot of that stuff too. A good medical dictionary is very helpful. Yes. Yes. And if it were me, like if I had to go back in time, I probably would nerd out with medical terminology, and like on my downtime, if I'm like bored, have absolutely nothing to do, and had to decide, do I really need to take a nap, or can I be doing something useful with my time? I would be smart and pick useful with my time and just go over like 10 words at a time or whatever I can handle. Because I was making some content the other day. Like, I have a YouTube channel too. And one of my ideas for my YouTube channel was to do medical term flashcards. And so I was in Canva playing around with some of their flashcard like settings or like templates. And when I was doing the flashcards, making up the content, I was like, man, I wish I would have like was ambitious enough to just do this throughout my whole career. It was like I did medical terminology and physiology while I was in college because I was in college for like medical stuff. And so I thought I wanted to, do medical things. And which I am doing medical things, but I took it in college. So that was my extent. So when I got into AAPC and they were like, we suggest you take medical terminology and anatomy, I was like, I already did that. Like I got my associate's degree and I passed, all my A&P courses. So I don't need to take it again. But when I was studying, I remembered some of the stuff, but I had to have that medical dictionary by me to look up some of the things that I didn't remember. And by it being so much information, I also had a medical coding job that I was in jeopardy of losing if I didn't pass my exam. I was fresh into medical coding, so I was learning stuff on the job, actually studying for my CPC. I didn't have time or even the willpower to want to pick up, coding medical terminology flashcards and study that extra. But if I had to go back in time, I would absolutely fit that in my life because all these charts, doctors, nurses, clinicians write and dictate in medical terms. And I know for a fact it would have been so much easier for me to just knew the medical terms in my head like clockwork. It would help so much in picking out codes and understanding what they were saying. Oh, okay, the Coder's Desk reference. What kind of book is that? Is that like is it by a particular author or is it one of those AAPC books? I see they have a lot of books in their bookstore, but I don't usually go through the Coder's Desk reference. I don't know that there is a particular medical dictionary. I don't know. Oh, your employer gets them through Optum. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Those are good. Good suggestions. A coder's desk reference for procedures. Okay. I know what you're talking about. I do have a few of those. I think I have a behavior health service Optum 360 coding and payment guide. I don't know if that's the same as the coder's desk reference, but it's just like it just pulled out like all the codes that you would use in behavioral health. And I have one for urology too. But it's called a coding and payment guide. That's what mine is called. But if there's something that's like the coder's desk reference, I would love that. What's this one called? Code. I have a coding companion book. I wonder if I don't really want y'all to see how I look today, which is why I'm not on camera, but I'm about to see if I could turn my camera around to show my book. I hope my lights don't go out again. It is flickering again. Okay, if you could see this book, oh, this stupid green screen. Okay. This is the book, this reference book I have for urology, this Optum book right here. And it's called Coding Companion. I don't know if this is something what you're talking about, but yeah, I have that. And it got a lot of procedures in there. Uh-oh. You about to reset the modem.
Mhm.
Okay. The CPC exam is 4 hours. 4 hours. 100 questions in 4 hours. Thank you guys for 10,000 likes. I appreciate it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank y'all for the likes and the shares and all the good stuff, all the things that TikTok likes. We've been on here for quite a while. I might have to hop off and see what's going on with my home. But do y'all have any other questions? Anything else y'all want to talk about before I go? I'm gonna get back on later on tonight and try to show some of the playbook. First things first, what you just said, Track Woody, keep trying, try again. I failed twice, passed it on my third try. But if you hop back on tonight or anytime in the future, I am releasing a playbook that I have. It's full of tips on things that help me to pass my coding exams. So I try to hop on about 7 o'clock Central Standard Time. I try to. We having a storm right now, so I'm hoping that that's possible. I'm hoping the storm don't knock us out again. My lights just came back on, but um, if not, I'll post content, and I'm going to be offering a webinar to kind of go through the playbook and teach the plays in the playbook. But my test taking tips would be to learn how to use process of elimination effectively, because a lot of the CPC exam or any of the exams that AAPC give at the present time, you can absolutely utilize process of elimination to help give you a better chance to pick, the correct codes. Also understand and know your coding guidelines. You don't necessarily have to memorize them, but you need to know which codes have a guideline attached to it and which scenario have a guideline. Understand how to read your parenthetical notes in your CPT book, and understand about bundling and unbundling and things like that. I have a play in the book called Spot the Obvious, meaning that, the CPT, especially the CPC, is broken up into sections. Like the first part of the book is usually about the business of medicine, and they talk about medical terminology, and then they talk about like compliance stuff like that. The next session of the book is usually about the 10,000 codes, then the 20,000 codes, then the 30,000 codes. So I use that strategically and say, okay, we're in this section of the book, so more than likely, not 100%, but more than likely the questions that they are asking me is going to be in the 10,000 section of the CPT book. My answer choices should be in the 20,000 section of the CPT book. Similar to your practice exam. Your practice exam is broken down like that as well. So make sure you understand what section of the book you should be looking in. So if you have an answer choice that's not in that section of the book, more than likely that's probably not the right answer, but it could be, but it's probably not. So keep that in mind. Also, I have a test taking technique that's called grouping, meaning you'll group similar answer choices into as little groups as possible, maybe 2 or 3 groups. And then from there, it's easier for you to identify, the best possible answer for that scenario. So I call that technique grouping. And then last but not least, I call it know the rules. That means know your guidelines, know your parenthetical notes, know what the question is asking you. I'm going to break down that playbook into strategic steps with coding scenarios. We're going to talk about it. I'm going to answer any questions that you have. I want you guys to challenge my brain so I can make it as best as possible. And so if you're interested in that, please be on the lookout for it. If you're not following me, follow me. And when I do release it, you'll understand it. And better yet, download something free from my shop, because I'm going to send out an email and a special like blast to all my email subscribers so y'all can know first about when I release it, and that way you won't miss it. You'll have the opportunity. So yeah, that's I've been working on it for quite a while. I've been working on it heavily for the like last 3 months, but I've really been working on it for about 6 months now, 6 months or more. But it is done. It's really done. I just have to I want to get it pretty and put it in Canva, make it look presentable, make it look like it's worth the money that I'm asking for it and all that stuff. Because it really is good information. It really, really is. And I think it'll help a lot of people be more confident passing their tests. I really do. I don't know yet. I think I'm going to. I don't know yet. It won't be a lot. I'm not cracking like I'm not cracking like AAPC, because I'm not like I already know. We spent a lot of money getting this credential, but like I say, I've been working on it for months. So like my time and effort and my knowledge has been put into this playbook. So but I don't know. It won't be a lot. I'm thinking about tearing it out. Like if you early bird, I might offer it for a really low price if you jump on it right away. And then as we get closer to the webinar, of course, the price will probably go up. I'm thinking about different payment structures, but I don't know yet. We'll see. Just download something from I got a free audit tool in my bio. Download that. Download something to get on my email list. It's a couple things free up in my stand store. I think it's an audit tool that's free up there, and there is oh, I took the frequently asked questions down because I want to redo it. I wanted to redo it with the frequently asked questions. Do y'all have any other questions? Okay, cool. Cool, cool. Thanks for the support. I appreciate you. It's just what it says. So it depends on which code set you're talking about. In ICD-10, I don't know why that's such a tongue twister. And or can mean the same thing. That means like if the provider documents they have this and that, or they have this or that, you can use that code. Like it doesn't matter. And or kind of means the same thing at ICD-10. But in CPT, it's different. It means absolutely what it says. You have to have both conditions. If the code says they have this and this, both conditions have to be present and documented for you to use that code. This is for CPT. But if the definition of that CPT code says they can have this or this, that means just that. Like the doctor doesn't have to necessarily document both things were done. One, at least one has to be documented that was done. I'm gonna say that again. For ICD-10, and or is synonymous. It means the same thing. It doesn't matter how it's documented. You can use that code. In CPT, if they have the word and, that means both things have to be documented for this code to be true. If they use the word or, that means at least one of these things have to be documented for this code to be true. Okay. You can use all three books for the certification. Does it have to be 2025? They suggest you use the most current book, but you can get away with using last year's book. You're welcome. No problem. The best resources to study for this exam is the study guides that APC or HEMA gives you access to. Your code books, because you know you need to know your coding guidelines. And like any websites that the study guide mentions, I will also at least take a look at those websites to see if there's any helpful information that may help you understand the concept better. Also, knowing medical terminology and anatomy and physiology. If you don't have a good grasp on medical terminology, maybe order some workbooks off of Amazon or find an app that helps you to learn medical terminology. I used to have a playlist on my YouTube channel that, like, I learned stuff in a juvenile way. And so, like, there's a lot of channels on YouTube that, like, cartoonize, is that a word? That makes like anatomy into like a cartoon. And that helped me to learn anatomy and physiology stuff. And so I like to watch those videos to help me to understand anatomy and physiology. But you need to know medical terminology. You need to know anatomy and physiology. You need to know disease process, because you not have to know if there's something that is being documented as part of the overall condition. If documentation states that a patient has fibroid and it's also menopause bleeds, what should be coded? Should both conditions be coded or only the fibroids? A couple things I would ask myself is what's being treated? Are they treating the postmenopausal condition bleed, or are they treating the fibroids? That will help me to like get my mind around things. Is one of the That's what I was just talking about, disease process. Is fibroids part of the disease process? I mean, is the menopausal bleed part of the disease process of fibroids, or vice versa? Like, if one of them is a sign and symptom of the other one, is no need to code both. Are there even codes for both of them? I don't know. I don't work in that specialty. I'm sure there's a code for fibroid. I'm sure there's probably a code for, some sort of bleed, but is there specific codes for postmenopausal bleeding? If there are, then okay, there's fibroids can cause bleeding. Okay. So what was the final diagnosis that the provider gave? Did the provider say that this patient is diagnosed with both postmenopausal bleeding and fibroids? But from what the information that you've given me, so they're not saying that. So you can't link the two together. Your job as a coder is not to say that this is a result of that. If the provider doesn't link the two together, you either, like, if this is a real world scenario, you may want to query the provider and ask them, are you linking the two together? But if you know the disease process of one, if you're saying that bleeding is caused by the fibroids are actually bleeding or actually causing the bleeding, then, and it's a known symptom, only code the fibroids, because the fibroids is inherently has the bleeding component in that. If that makes sense. I hope it does. So if the doctor is only diagnose the patient with fibroids, but you know the patient has menopausal, postmenopausal bleeding as well. Maybe they're just treating the fibroids and they're not just treating the bleeding, or maybe they just treating the bleeding and not considering the fibroids. I don't know without looking at the whole record. You know, sometimes context around everything helps everything make sense and brought together, but it sounds like bleeding is a disease process of the fibroids, and we should know that if you have fibroids, we can expect there's bleeding as well. But again, that's not my specialty, so I don't know if that's true. Okay, you're welcome. Yeah, I hope that helped. I really do. I hope it didn't confuse you even more. All right, y'all. I'm gonna get off of here because I've been on here for quite a while. I'm gonna try to hop back on later on tonight. I hope y'all join me later on tonight if you have any questions that you think of in between time. But as always, thank y'all for the engagement. Thank you for the likes. Thank you for the follows. Thank you for the gifts. I appreciate it all. And I wish you guys good luck on everything you're doing, whether you're taking a test, looking for a job, starting out in coding, or I've been in coding forever. Like, best wishes on everything. I will see y'all very, very soon.